In 2014, an attempt to stop global warming through climate engineering backfires catastrophically, unintentionally causing an ice age which extinguishes all life on Earth except the inhabitants of the Snowpiercer, a massive self-sustaining circumnavigational train which is owned and run by its inventor, Wilford. The train is divided into two groups: the people at the front of the train, who are the elites that get all the luxury experience, and the people at the back of the train, who don't really have a luxury experience, and the elites call them the scums. And we're now on the year 2031, and we meet our protagonist Curtis, and through his eyes we see how the last 17 years have been for the poor. They live on a protein bar diet and are treated horribly by the elite. We see that the guards of Wilford beat up the poor even if they look at them the wrong way, and we also learn that life is completely unbearable for them. This is why the poor, led by Curtis, are planning a revolution. Curtis has been getting information from an inside man in the elite circle, and he plans to use the information to take over the train. By his side, Curtis has his best friend Edgar, a hothead with a heart of gold, and his mentor Gilliam, who was a friend of Wilford in the past. In the next scene, we see the guards taking away two children, Andy and Timmy, forcibly from their parents. Andy's dad tries to fight them off, but he couldn't stop them, and he then throws his shoe at a high-ranking elite. Minister Mason arrives at the scene, and she punishes the dad by putting out one of his arms outside the train for 7 minutes, and the cold outside freezes his arm completely, and they break off his arm with a sledgehammer. The poor are all made to see this punishment, as Mason gives a speech telling the poor to know their place and to never overstep it. The next day, Curtis gathers all the poor passengers to start the revolution, but some of them are scared of the guards since all of them carry a rifle and they could kill them off easily. But Curtis has figured out that the rifles have no bullets, as he believes bullets have run out when they were used to stop the last revolution a few years ago. To prove his theory, Curtis jumps at one of the guards and makes him shoot his rifle, which as he believed was empty. And when the poor see this, they attack the guards and overpower them, pummeling them with iron bars. The group make it to a prison cell, and Curtis releases security expert Nam and his daughter Yona from their cells. Nam is one of the people who worked on the security of the train and knows how to unlock all the doors, and he's been sent to prison with his daughter for a reason that's not revealed in the movie. Curtis offers Nam a deal. If Nam opens all the doors for them, leading them to the engine room, in exchange he would offer him 2 chronos, a very addictive drug that both Nam and his daughter are addicted to. Nam then agrees to the deal, and they travel to the next section of the train, which is where the protein bars were being made. Everyone fights over the bars as they were all hungry, but when Curtis goes to the machine that makes the bars to see how it's made, he discovers that it's made from insects. And even though this disgusts Curtis, he doesn't tell anyone so as to not create more chaos. He then meets up with Gilliam, who suggests that if they take the water supply car, they will control any negotiation with Wilford. Curtis agrees, but as they open the next door, they are ambushed by masked men with axes, knives, and hatchets. A fight breaks out, and Curtis's men overwhelm the guards at the front. They then all stop as the train was making another circle because it was New Year's, and the guards count down to celebrate the new year and thank Wilford. Mason then comes from behind the guards and informs the poor that for their attempted revolution, they have all been sentenced to lose 74% of their population. And suddenly, all the lights are shut off, and the guards put on night vision goggles and they attack. Curtis's men are now fighting blind, and the guards start to win, killing off all the poor who now cannot see. But Nam takes out a match he was hiding and gives it to Curtis, which he uses to light up torches and gives to his people. And now the tables have turned, and Curtis's men start to attack back. A bloody battle ensues, but by sheer number alone, the poor start killing off all the guards. Curtis uses this opportunity to capture Mason, who is now alone, but as he goes to grab her, Edgar, his loyal friend and second in command, is killed by one of the leaders of the guard. Curtis manages to capture Mason and puts an axe to her throat, which stops the fighting and makes the remaining guards surrender. He then threatens to kill Mason to draw out Wilford, but she tells him that Wilford will never leave the engine room, and she also tells them that the water comes from the front to the back, so even controlling the water will not make a difference. She then offers to take them to Wilford in exchange for her life. Curtis then decides to take a few people with him, as the rest, including Gilliam, wait at the water supply. The group pass through multiple luxurious sections uninterrupted, and they stop at the aquarium and eat some sushi. Curtis also makes Mason eat the protein bar as him and his people were forced to eat it for years. They then reach a classroom where children were being taught about Wilford. They're told about how great he is, and they sing a song about him and how he is their savior. And then a cart filled with fresh eggs comes for the kids, and one is also given to Curtis. When he opens the egg, he finds a note that says blood. And in that second, the teacher takes out an SMG and shoots at them, and she kills one of his men before she's taken out. They then watch on the TV inside the room the people who are waiting for them at the water supply, including Gilliam, being ambushed and killed. Curtis then turns to Mason, and without hesitation, shoots her in the head and kills her. The group then move forward as they were being chased by the guards that killed off Gilliam and the rest of the crew. The guards, led by Wilford's right-hand man Franco, catch up to them as they both enter the sauna room. And here, a close quarter fight breaks out. The guards kill two more of Curtis's people. Nam manages to take down Franco, and Curtis finishes him off by stabbing him in the gut. And the only people left now with Curtis are him, Nam, and Yona. And they're also getting pretty close to the engine room. They pass through a few sections where the elite party and do drugs, and Yona breaks off from the group and decides to do drugs with the elite. Curtis and Nam then reach the gate to the engine room, and Curtis waits for Nam to open the door, but Nam refuses, and Curtis gets very frustrated and decides to de-escalate the situation as they were just about to fight. Nam then tells him that he plans to use the chronal as an explosive to blow up the gate to the outside world. Nam explains that every year he watches a plane that has crashed, but years ago he could only see the tail. But now, since the snow is slowly melting, he can see the plane, which is fully visible. Nam believes that this is proof that the ice age is fading away, and he wants to leave the train and live on the outside. Curtis then tells him the story of how they were first treated when they got to the train. He reveals that once they got on the train, the poor weren't fed for months, and this led them to cannibalism for survival. The strong started to eat the weak, and Curtis was the leader. One day, he found a mother and her baby, and he kills the mother and takes the baby to eat it, but Gilliam decided to cut off his own hand and gave it to him, which inspired others to sacrifice their own limbs for the others to eat. Curtis reveals that the baby he was about to eat was Edgar, and what he did to his mother and almost did to baby Edgar haunts him till this day. A teary-eyed Curtis explains that he needs to get face-to-face with Wilford so he can ask him why he starved them those first months on the train. After listening to his story, Nam commends him for his strength, but he still wants to finish his plan. He takes out the chronal bomb and sticks it to the gate to blow it open, and then asks Curtis to light up the bomb, but just as he asks, the engine doors open and Wilford's assistant comes out with a gun and shoots Nam in the gut. After shooting Nam, she tells Curtis that Wilford is waiting for him, and she invites him to go inside. Curtis follows her in and finally meets Wilford face to face. As they talk, Wilford reveals to him that this revolution was actually planned by him and Gilliam so as to reduce the population and maintain the balance of the sealed ecosystem on the train. He continues to explain that Gilliam was in it from the start and that they plan to stop the revolution at the water supply once the poor have lost 74% of their population. Wilford also explains that previous failed attempts were actually orchestrated by Gilliam himself. Wilford then calls his guards and orders them to kill every member of the poor, leaving only 18 to celebrate the 18 years on the train. He then takes Curtis to the engine room and offers him his job, and a shocked and saddened Curtis falls to his knees as he appears to be ready to accept Wilford's position. Meanwhile, Nam has woken up and Yona has also reached the gate. Yona rushes to Curtis and asks him to give her the matches, but Curtis doesn't respond as he is still in shock. She then pulls up the floorboard, revealing the young children that were taken from the poor, who are being used as a replacement for an extinct machinery part for the engine of the train. This scene also reveals that the poor only serve to provide slave labor and resources that is used to run the engine of the train. Curtis knocks out Wilford and sticks his arm in the engine to save Timmy, losing his arm in the process. Yona then gives Nam the matches, who triggers the bomb, and the explosion triggers an avalanche that derails and destroys most of the train. After everything clears, Yona runs to her father, who is unresponsive, and we also see that Curtis is badly wounded. In the last scene, we see Yona and Timmy, presumably the only survivors, walking out of the train, and they notice a polar bear at a distance, proving that life once again exists on the surface. And that is how our movie comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I love you guys so much, and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye.